It's nice to see. You know what? These relationships are the point, right? And this approach with business relationships, where I had Ryan watch finally. Ryan didn't know the movie Jerry Maguire, and so I had him watch it because I think that that's what this system is. It's fewer clients, better relationships, and that's a really powerful. It's just a super powerful concept, and I just think about what that could be like for you 10 years from now or 20 years from now if you have a relationship with a real estate agent that is so deep that you go to their kids' weddings, they come to your kids' weddings, like you are so ingrained in their lives, you can't imagine doing anything without each other. And it's this mutually beneficial relationship. How gratifying would that be beyond just the income opportunity for both of you, but just how gratifying to have a relationship, a friendship with somebody like that. I can tell you that the older I get, the fewer friendships I have that are really very meaningful. And the ones that I do have, you cherish even more and more. And if you could tie that into business where you're really just working with people you like that much, it could be really cool. It could be super cool. So this is cool. I'm really looking forward to this year. I know it has been, Giuseppe's right. It's the toughest year we'll ever experience. It's been a battle of attrition. And if you're still here and you're still going, then you've figured out a way to navigate a really lean time in this business, which is part of business. Part of business is figuring out how to survive really lean times. And a lot of companies can't do it. A lot of companies don't plan well. I'm really grateful that we are in the position we are, that even when we have a month where we don't make money, it doesn't impact us that much because we have such a fortified balance sheet. And and we never, if we do lose money, we don't lose a significant amount of money that makes me go like, oh shit, what are we going to do? I mean, we lose 10, 20 or 30 grand or whatever, and it's not fun. And I want to make money every month. But in 2023, the goal is don't lose money, which is a lame goal. But when you're running a business and it's this kind of a year, that's a great goal. And we're going to be one of the few companies that meets that goal. I've heard that 93% of the companies are losing money, and we'll lose money this year, and we won't be one of them. So we're going to be one of the 7% that makes money. Not a lot. We're not going to be throwing a parade. I'm not going to be handing out big bonus checks to the ops team like I would love to do. It's just not there this year, but we'll make up for it. And I'm looking for 2024 is going to be really solid. So you read my Friday focus. I've left a 1 minute timer on 1 minute sand timer on everybody's desk, and I'll be mailing them to the people who don't come here. This is just I'd love that idea of bad things happen in business. You can't stop them from happening. People do things. Customers choose other lenders, or realtors stand you up. Give yourself 60 seconds and let's move on. So really simple concept to make life a lot easier to navigate, because people are going to disappoint us. And I get disappointed all the time in this chair, right? Like, oh man. So I face more disappointment than you do. How's that? Because I hear about everybody's disappointment. And so and I die a little inside with every one of yours. So so it's just a great reminder of life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it, and your ability to handle challenges and setbacks. That's the most successful people handle the most. So keep that in mind. The next thing is that we've been working for the last couple of 3 months, and Jacqueline was involved in a lot of this work. And the reason I involved Jacqueline in this work is because she used to run ops. And so she has a perspective that none of the rest of us do, and including me. And she's been working with Kim and the operations team on we're not changing anything. We're reinforcing the things that we've always had in place so that we gain more consistency in our processes. Where we're getting a lot of requests we have too many requests for customization of notification emails and changes to, like, so the email I sent out this week about the closing recap on the buy downs. If you're in any business, and this is for you too, for you as well, you need consistency in your process. So that you should be saying the same thing to every customer. Every customer should go through the same process and have the same experience. By doing that, you can certainly make adjustments to your process as you go along. But the key to success in business is having replicable systems. And that's how as you're building a team, as you build out a team, that's how you get leverage and how you can scale. This book, I would recommend to all of you that are team building, the E-Myth Revisited. It's really about running a business, and there's so much, like, this was such an eye-opening book to me, and it helped a lot with our process creation here with building checklists, and the checklist manifesto was the other one, but it's just understanding why you want turnkey business systems, so that it's the same thing every time. When you're working with an assistant, it's the same thing every time. The customer goes through the same process every time, so that we all get the same outcome that we're looking for. 5-star reviews, thrilled clients, they repeat, they refer like it's a job. The realtors love you and they want to work with you, and you have as much business opportunity as you can possibly get by closing a loan. And so that's what we're doing. So what I'm going to be sending out here in the next, and this is going to be over, I'm going to send this out in bite-sized pieces because there's too much. It's starting with how we're going to let you know what's going on with the appraisal orders, right? So it's just getting consistency around it. There is some customization that we're going to allow, which is going to be, I want the notifications or I don't want the notifications. But as far as customizing who's getting which notification and all that stuff, like this person gets it, but this person doesn't, that's just really challenging to navigate on the operations side of the business for each individual. So it's just something to keep in mind. I'll share it. And then the idea here isn't, we're not making changes. We're like going back to like, hey, we have to have the same process and the same system consistently throughout the process for conditional approvals, for suspenses, for change of circumstance, all of that stuff. So CDs, recaps, all of that. So I'm just going to reinforce it. This won't be changes that we're making. These will be, I guess we'll be making some changes, but it won't be change. It'll be going back to what we should have had in place and not made adjustments to along the way. And that's how you can scale things. It's the perfect time to do this because we're a little bit slower, and I hate that we are, but it's the perfect time to like take a look at these things and do them. So Jacqueline, thanks for the time and effort that you put into it. I promise you, she comes to this from a sales-centric approach, since she works on the loan officer side of this now, and she doesn't work on that side of it, but she just has an understanding of it, where the consistency of the process. I think we involved John in some of these discussions as well, because a strong operational background as well. He understands what it takes. So it wasn't like the edict this wasn't from me, just so you know, because I don't do either one of those jobs anymore. So it didn't come from me, and just so you know, so look for that. Then the last thing is for business planning. I just want to make sure that I get with each one of you, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on them. I'm not looking to like dissect your plan and tear it up and make you do it over or anything else like that. Your plan is your plan. I want to talk to you. But I'd love to know, I want to know your 5-year story. Really important. I want to know what the 5-year story is, because I want to support that. Okay. So it isn't like, I want to do what I can to support it. And I want to make sure that I can spend as much time with you as you'd like me to spend on helping you reach those goals. Motivation without education leads to discouragement. And I want to make sure that I motivate you. But if you're motivated, if I get you all excited about a goal that you want to leave, but you don't know how to do it, then you're going to end up discouraged. So if there's something that I can point you to that will help educate you as to do what it is you want to accomplish, I want to make sure that I'm doing that. So what I want to know is that 5-year story, your LO playbook document that I sent out, the business goals, and then talk about your time block. Because if you reach your goals, we'll both be really happy. If you don't reach your goals, we'll both be disappointed. I don't want to be disappointed, and I don't want you to be disappointed. So that's the point, is I'm not looking for the accountability. You should crave just so you know, you should crave accountability. If you want to be successful in business, you want that accountability. And it isn't like me threatening you. It's you being accountable to yourself. And that's what that commitment lockdown document process is all about, creating some sort of personal leverage that you know you'll do what you say you're going to do, because there's no way you're not going to do it. When you create that kind of a commitment, that's what the commitment lockdown is. There's no way I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. Your goals are easy because you'll just do the work. And that's what this comes down to. Anybody have anything they want to add? Any discussions around the conversations that are going to come up if rates start to fall too fast? renegotiation conversations, and maybe we can talk to some of the more experienced guys that have dealt with this, rate renegotiation conversations and conversations with people that have already locked, they're already closed, and now they're calling you 3 months later, like, hey, I heard rates are lower, let's refinance, and how those conversations go. Giuseppe, Chris, Jack, can you share?
Yeah, I would just, Ryan had sent out that email that, the trend, and you can show them the charts, right, is like the economy, everything's not going to get back on track and everything's going to be great in a month, right? It's going to continue probably to get worse, and rates will continue to get better. So I would just say, we can do that free refinance at the 6-month mark, and you could, before you even call them back, you could have the date available, right? And just plan out 45 days before that, you can start the process and get them locked in. And for people that, by the way, Chris, thanks for pointing out, I didn't know that safe EPO date was an Encompass. I was just having to go to the hub and check. So that's awesome that we can do that. That makes it super easy. And you can set up the signing date before that. You just can't have the loan fund. And I know there's probably some people on this call that maybe have never done a refinance, right? So maybe we can do some kind of like training, and I can be glad to help. We've done a few the last few years, and kind of how to think through it, maybe how you want the workflow to go. Because if you get a day that you get 5 people or 10 people asking you to refinance, you're going to be overwhelmed. So it's good to think about what you want that process to be. Do you want to rebuild their application? Do you want to have them send them a link and have them do a new application? There's lots of ways to think about that. So whatever, be good to brainstorm on that. And then as far as people that are locked in right now, I mean, with VIP, I found compared to Hallmark and Fairway, I didn't even know what a renegotiation was at Majestic Mortgage, but compared to those companies, this is the easiest company to renegotiate something. I mean, all you have to do, all I do, there's probably different ways, is take the lock confirmation email you get when you lock, reply all to it, and ask them if it's eligible for a rate renegotiation. That's it. There was some point in like March of 2020. Remember those days when like the rates were changing, banks were repricing like 30 times a day, that, rates dropped a lot. And I remember in one day, I just copied and pasted that message on the, 18 loans I had locked. And we were able to renegotiate 15 of them. They'll just reply back, yeah, you can do it. Here's the new price. One thing I changed is I had this script, this rate renegotiation email, that if people ask up front, I would share it with them. If people ask when they're locked, I would send it to them. And I changed it where I used to say that we could renegotiate if it got better than 0.3%, with no change in fees. But, sometimes there was a change in fees if the market didn't improve a lot. So I just told them for a 1/4 point discount. But I renegotiated someone 0.75% lower rate like 2 weeks ago than when they locked in, for a 1/4 point discount. And so, I mean, that would have
That's a screaming deal for the customer. That's
yeah, like they don't have to do it, but it's like if you tell them up front it's free, then sometimes I had to eat it and sometimes it worked. But now they know right up front that it's a 1/4 point discount, and I just made up that number. I didn't want it to be too much, but that seems to be on the ones that I had to eat it. Sometimes it seems to be a 1/4 point off under par. And so I tell them that, and sometimes you can get them a screaming deal on a new rate, and it's up to them. Here's what
when I used to have the conversation, when I used to have the rate lock conversation, the customer would inevitably, not all the time, but would occasionally ask, what happens if the market gets better after I lock? My answer was always like, well, if the market gets worse, can I get you a higher rate? No. It's like, okay. So
yeah,
here's what happens. Here's what happens. And I would say, if the market improves enough after you're locked in, we can renegotiate. There's usually I always said there's usually a cost associated with it, but I'll let you know what it is. I didn't ever use the 1/4. I love that, but I just said there's usually a cost associated with it. So they're prepped for it. Like, cause if there is, I don't want to go like, hey, it's free. It's like, no, it's not free. Because you don't control how much the market moved is the point, right? Like it's not really, but if you can save a guy a quarter in rate or 3/8 in rate, 3/4 of a point for a quarter is like a layup. There's no customer on the planet that would turn that down, right? So
I'll send this email out to you so that you guys can have it and change it and make it your own. But it's worked well for decades. All I did was change that it was going to cost a little bit. And it does say, you know, if it drops this much, they're not going to let you renegotiate. So they don't even, if rates are 1/4% lower, they're not even asking. But if it's more than that, I tell them there's a good chance that we can do it. We can get you a better rate. And then the last bullet point is if rates move higher, we'll let you keep the current rate.
there you go.
Kind of like what you were saying there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
On that topic, I think it's smart when you do your sits to show them the bond chart, not like you have to get ingrained in it, but like just kind of show them how things work a little bit. Because yeah, I had someone that it was like a 2-week closing. They closed Wednesday. She saw on Tuesday, like, hey, I saw rates are lower. And I was like, well, like, yeah, but we locked on this day. And I like sent a picture of a screenshot. And here's where we're at today. It's like 102. It was like, whatever. It's the same pricing. She's like, oh, okay. So I think that helps if you show people the chart and then you explain how bond prices go up, rates go down, and so
That's
yeah,
a really good idea. Show them
I've
the
done
day
that.
they locked and then today.
And I screenshotted it and texted it to her, and she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
highlighted,
media
like,
just like rates are lower. I'm like, yeah, depends when you. What are we talking about? Like from 6 months ago, because they're the same now, or are we talking about from 1 month ago? So
you can use a lot of stuff like that depending on the client. Like, even like, the Freddie Mac index that pulls, that comes out Thursdays. Sometimes it's like rates, I remember headlines in the past, rates hit all-time lows and people would reach out, right? But it's like, well, yeah, it's like 2.94 compared to 2.96 last week. Like, yeah, I guess it's lower, but it's the same rate, So there's a lot of stuff like that you can do, screenshots of the bond market, like high circle, like here's where we locked, here's where we locked. There's some movement in the middle, but it's the same today.
One of the things that you guys might try, I saw this the other day, mortgage rate, just Google current mortgage rates, and just Google it. It pulls up like some pretty high rates that you can show people. And it's just a Google. It's like, well, this is the Google search engine and this is what their quote, this is what the national rate quotes are like.
Yeah.
That's another way to like just, people hear things and the rate, then it becomes you not doing what you're supposed to do. And that's where your education, your ability to educate and demonstrate changes the conversation dramatically. And never act surprised, never act panic, be calm. I mean, that reassures the customer that they're in good hands. You can typically overcome these things pretty easily.
You can always, just say, hey, you know what? I was just about to call you or whatever. I already have an email into the investor.
Great. That's a great
See
line.
if we can do this.
I was
I'll
just
keep you
about to call
posted.
you. That's a great line.
I found that CNBC one that comes out every, when they do the mortgage apps, like that one's pretty good because it says 7, whatever last week was, with 0.6 in buy down points. So that's helpful. I think that one's always the best because it makes it look like, because some of the shit you find on the internet doesn't show points, right? Anyway, yeah, Jessica, I'm happy to do like a training and show you how to. I can do one for everyone, or G can do one, or Jack, or Casey, John, never. Even though John and I were joking yesterday, like, shit, I haven't done a refi TCA. How do you do one? But I'm happy to do one and show you guys.
We should schedule it where like G goes through his process and you go through yours, because I can guarantee it's going to be like wildly different because you use a TCA, G uses a refi breakdown. And so it'd be cool to see like how you guys navigate that, and then we can kind of obviously figure out what we want to do from there.
I could do it next week.
I'll have Amy work on getting these things scheduled for us so that we have them and we'll get them recorded, because I'm building out a platform for where we can keep all of our stuff. I don't like the way Salesforce saves all this stuff. So Amy and we're using a new program where we're going to create a lot of video training tools so that you have a library of things that you guys can access. And as we bring more people in, in the next 12 months. I want to make sure these are great conversations, and I want them to be able to be memorialized so somebody else can like access it. We can cover what was covered on it. So this has been a great conversation. But yeah,
I'll just say one more thing back to the original question, Dave, on the refi. So like, I think G's probably done it, Jack. Like sometimes like rates move enough and you're just gonna have to redo the deal for free. You don't want them to go somewhere else and then you get an EPO and don't get the second one. So sometimes you have to, but you have to really think about the situation. Like a chaff loan, like, well, yeah, dude, you're not gonna be able to refi. You need to wait 6 months or 12 or whatever for your value to go up because you have a second mortgage, right? So, and sometimes if people put 5% down or 10, you say, well, maybe we should wait a little bit for your value to go up so that you can lower your MI, right? So you kind of like say that too, because I have clients already reaching out, like closing last month. I'm like, well, you guys let's wait a little bit. You haven't made a payment yet. It's like just hang in there a little bit. So
use the buy downs to your advantage if they're in a 2-1 buy down.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
like it's gonna be lower.
Yeah, if the buy downs, like I said last week, you have guaranteed refinance opportunities coming your way. But if their start rate's 5 3/4, because they did a 2-1 at 7 3/4, you're not refinancing them now, right? You're not doing that now, right? So let that ride, right? So you want to
Can
get
I
up.
show everyone that Google mortgage rates real quick?
You want to show them?
Yeah, I'll just share my screen because I've been using this too a lot because it is when you
It is
pull it
so
up,
high.
it defaults to like 720 to 739. And like that's the rate, right? And it's quite accurate. If you do 780, 6.875, no points rate. If you do like a $600,000 loan, 6.6. I mean, that's what I was pricing out yesterday with no points. So it is very accurate, and people trust Google. So it's one of my new favorite go-tos for sure.
Right on. Jacqueline, you raised your hand.
So what's really helped me is when I send out my first payment reminders for clients, like 2 weeks or so before the first payment's due, I include like where your payment's being made. Here's a copy of your transfer letter and things like that. But I also update a mortgage coach presentation and send it to them so that they know what rate I'm looking for and remind them of the Refinance for Life program. So all of your clients that have closed in like the last quarter, putting something together and just teeing that up to get sent out so that they know like, hey, I'm watching it, you don't have to, kind of thing, would be really beneficial. And then they know what I'm telling them is like, hey, I'm looking for at least a 0.25% improvement in rate or reduction of mortgage insurance, whatever the case is, whatever the situation calls for. And then I'll show them like three levels that I'm looking for, like 1/4, 0.5%, and 0.75% or whatever. And so that way they know, be like, hey, I've set alerts. So the system's going to tell me as soon as this hits for your specific criteria, and I'll reach out to you as soon as we hit that. That said, if there's a different savings criteria that you're looking for, let me know what that is so that I can program it for that way. So that way you're being just a little bit more proactive in that stuff. So it's something I know all of you can see how many tasks I have that are not done yet. And so a lot of those are my annual review calls. And so I'll be setting those up to send everybody out and be like, hey, just a reminder, I'm actively looking for that refinance opportunity for you. Here's what I'm looking for. And pretty much everybody responds to that. It's like, oh, awesome. Thank you. I was worried about if I should reach out to you and that kind of thing. So that way they know you're being proactive about it. And you already have the mortgage coach set up for what the refinance could look like. And then it's just a matter of updating rates as things progress. But you've already started that first step of what the refinance opportunity will look like. And that's really helpful when rates start to come down and we start getting inundated with requests.
Yeah.
And I can share, I have a template in Salesforce I can share if that's helpful.
That's what Kayla and I started doing. Every time we get a rate alert, even if it doesn't make sense, we do a refinance breakdown and a mortgage coach link, and put it in a file just so we can have it when they're ready, and then mark a task in Salesforce.
All the rate alerts that have popped so far are people that closed last month. I'm like, oh, I'll be pushing those out a little bit. But I was going to say, when you're reviewing that closing recap, like people don't really know how much the rate has to drop to get the savings that they want. Like I talked to some people, pretty much most people, when you're doing a Zenith refi and they're paying $1,000 in title fees, right? If you're saving 250, 300, it's like a 3-4 month break even on fees, right? That's it. So it's super short, and people with loan amounts being so big right now compared to 10 years ago, it's not that big of a rate drop. So a lot of people will think, oh gosh, yeah, call me. They're locked in at 7.5, and like, call me when it's 5. I'm like, 5? I'm like, how much do you want to save? I'm like, how about if I can save you $300? And then it's like, 6.75, gets them there. Like, let me set it there, and then we can move it out and move it lower if you want. But they're like, oh yeah, I'll take those savings if they're free. I'm like, yeah, you will.
Right.
So all these loans being so big, could potentially be at least 2 refinances.
Jessica, you raised your hand.
Yeah, so I literally closed on the 8th at 7.25, and today I got the rate alert for the targeted rate 6.75 with an 800 credit score. So I'm just like, what do you do? Like, do I call those people or do I not call those people? I mean, I don't call the people. Okay. But what if they call me? Like,
Tell them
you-
the free
I would still get in
refinance.
front of it. I would call them first because they're going to be hearing from other people in the mail, and just let them know, hey, you might have seen this on the news. I wanted to be the first to tell you what happened. Here's what this looks like, in the next 4 to 6 months, and it's only going to get better,
Yeah.
right? So you may want to jump the gun now, but it makes sense to wait and just be the first person to give them that news is what I would do.
And
And
when
then
I was
again,
shaking
remind
my
them 6
head-
payments.
Yeah, when I was shaking my head, I wasn't saying don't call them. I was saying, I hate it when that happens. But yeah, remind them the free refinance. Like, why spend $3,000-4,000 to do it now when I know, you're going to have bigger savings and I can do it for free. I think it's going to move lower. Just keep telling people that, and they'll be fine with it, unless they were just a pain to begin with.
Also, y'all, I'm pretty sure the safe EPO date and the system is 190 days, but if you look at the EPO chart in the hub, Truist, Chase, and Mr. Cooper are 120 days. So you may have a shorter timeline to be able to refinance some of these people. I would always double check your investor.
Oh, so that safe EPO date is just automatically calculated. It's not investor.
If I remember
specific.
correctly, it's just automatically 190 days. So always check your investor on those.
190. No one's
I
190.
think it's, I put this in my email, it's 180 in
180.
Compass, but I have Mr. Cooper and Chase are 120 and New Res is 150. I think those, unless someone's changed.
Cooper, Chase, and Truist is 120 days as well. But
Sounds like you
Oh,
guys.
you're right. And
you need-
Bayview is 90.
Huh?
Sounds like you need a new post-closing task for yourselves on every transaction to verify the safe EPO date based on the investor, so that you can
Yeah.
plug it in yourself and you know what it is. Because they're gonna call you and you're not gonna remember. So you're gonna want to like have this somewhere in your Salesforce record of safe EPO date. Just figure out a place to store that, or I don't know, is that an editable field, John? The safe EPO date?
No,
No.
you just need to put it in your calendar.
Yeah.
Also,
Does anyone know
like-
what Chapa's is? Is it 120? Anyone?
Chaffas is either like, I was gonna look that up yesterday, but it's either like 60 or they don't have one. I actually
Okay.
don't think Chaffa has an EPO.
But the challenge is,
They're second.
Yeah.
Second. And a reminder, VA is 210 days and 6 payments made on time. And they can't prepay that 6th payment.
Wait, it's 210. I thought it was just 186 payments. So it's 210. Oh,
10 is VA Earl. VA Earl.
yeah.
210 days and 6 payments made. So if you like close somebody on the 2nd of the month and they didn't make a payment for 60 days and all that, you got to watch how many payments are made.
And-
Also, I noticed like I locked with Penny Mac, and then something else came up as Mr. Cooper, and then it was even one more different on a different screen, like when I was like trying to research a recent lock. So I'm kind of confused.
Is it
like
closed?
yeah, but it
Right.
hasn't been purchased yet.
You
So
gotta wait.
Oh, well then,
When
yeah.
it's
you'll have to
purchased,
wait.
it'll say
Started
who
yet.
it's sold to.
Okay, and that's
Yeah,
the person. That's
If you
the
go
one
in
that
the
needs
e-folder,
the
it says,
help.
you scroll down, it's like shipping confirmation. You ever seen that? Yeah, it's in there.
Okay. So the whoever purchased it, that's the one I research. Right.
Yeah.
You can
So
lock
and
with Penny
officers
Mac,
from
but
our
it'll sell to
investors are
Chase.
reaching out to our clients too for refinances, just so you know. I've had
Yeah.
3 of them get emailed to me.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm trying to
do we
think
still get our free refi through?
yeah,
Nope.
who sucks at
I'm
this?
like,
It's,
no.
who is, somebody super aggressive. Is it Penny Mac?
Yeah, Penny
Penny
Mac is
Mac
like
is-
nonstop. And unfortunately, VIP seems, everything that's hedged seems to go to Penny Mac, so.
So you know, yeah, that's that came up while I was in Phoenix for a couple of days this week, and that came up. That was part of their discussions. They're getting ready to cut them off for that reason. So, but you know, they've got a great price is the issue. So they're buying the market, and then they're like trying to refinance the customer 30 days later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
This
the
has
worst.
been, you know what, and John, you can back me up, Giuseppe, you can back me up. This has been a industry issue since we started, like why we sell the loans to those guys and they think they bought the customer from us and it's their customer now. They don't care about us after they buy the loan from us. That's their point of view. I've talked to reps about it. I've talked to people. It's like, it drives me crazy, but it is what it is. And I've been doing this for 26 years and it's just how it is. And so like, whatever, we've done okay. And so it's annoying and I hate it and you got to navigate around it. And it's just part of the job. It's here. I'll turn my thing over. I'm okay.
And if people need help calculating the date, if you have one of these, it's really easy.
Just ask Google. Just
There's
ask Alexa.
there's an easier way. Excel.
No,
Did you
man,
know
you
Oh,
just do this
calculates
thing.
dates.
You can
Like,
just ask
Yeah, just ask
Alexa.
Google. You can say 90 days from this date and it'll throw it up right there.
You guys are
Alexa,
lazy.
what's
Just use your
210 days
calculator.
from today?
And it's the purchase date. It's not, or,
Yes.
and is the purchase date and the first payment the
July
same?
12th, 2024.
No.
No,
Depends on the investor.
7/12/24, John.
I
210
know.
days.
Alexa just told me. I didn't even have to type anything.
Oh, all right.
If you don't have Alexa, Excel is really easy. Plug in the date. The cell below that do 100, write 180, and then below that do equals and add them together.
No, well, does Excel know it's a leap year next year, G?
It does. It
Oh,
does. It's
okay.
magical. It also knows holidays. It's never done me wrong.
All right, team.
Let's
I will
get some
get,
refis.
I'm gonna have Amy, yeah, right? I'm gonna have Amy get a refinance training call scheduled. We might do like 2 or 3 of them, so based on just the different ways, because Giuseppe and Chris and Jack, John, you guys have done the most refinances, just learning from what everybody does. And so we'll just, with the number of transactions that you've seen, Casey, maybe we bring you into that as well, Ryan, possibly. So just what we want to see is like, how do you do a lot of freaking like units in a month? Because that's what's challenging, is being able to handle the influx if we see the influx. And you don't want to, it's a great opportunity. You want to take advantage of it when it shows up. So